Hello, this is Bob Hollis with the Mobius Network and a quick tutorial on importing memberships in CiviCRM 4.1.2. So, quick overview is multiple steps involved. One, make sure you import or create all the contacts that you will be using to add to memberships. Import or create the organizations that will be used as the membership organizations. So if you have councils or committees or anything like that that people will belong to as a member, we need to enter those as organizations. Create member types, which define the membership. Edit the data in your import fields. If you're going to be importing data, make sure that the name and labels used for the data matches the data in your CiviCRM database, and then import the members. And of course, a lot of that time involved is just making sure that your import data is clean. So those are the basic steps. Now, if I go back in, and we're just on a development site here, sacramentogreenjobs.org, not a live site right now, and not even the right content. This is development for another organization. So if I go into Components, CiviCRM, we mentioned first, import or create all contacts. So from Civi, I can go into Contacts and Import Contacts, and it's going to walk me through that process. So I'm going to say yes, we're going to use a CSV file. Then I will select the file from my computer, and in this case I have some files stored that I'm working with for demonstration purposes. So we'll go in there and here, and let's say we were going to pull up just this group for now. So I can open up a file and decide which one I'm going to import from. This one happens to be just a few people who are members of the Military Recycling Council for a recycling organization. I let it know if the first row has headers for the columns. Decide if it's an individual, household, organization, or subtype. So if you're importing your groups, that would be an organization. If you're importing anybody else, it would obviously be individuals. And then you can choose subtypes, obviously, if you have subtypes for any of these options. For duplicate contacts, what do you want it to do? Skip, update, fill, or no duplicate checking? I usually choose update to prevent duplicate records from occurring. You can decide if you want it strict or fuzzy. That's getting a little bit into more details that I intend to for this particular session. Make sure you pick the correct date format if you'll be putting in any dates. And your date format must match in your spreadsheet. So if it doesn't now, it's a good time to do it. And then if you want to import mapping information, then you can choose this option. And then you can save or load a field that's already been saved before, if you've got one. I'll just click Continue. And now it's going to ask me what fields to match. So for my first import, when I just want to get the contacts in, just that basic information, I choose the very basics just to get us started. So I would certainly include last name, first name, and email address. And usually that's enough to get everybody into your database and then start working it from there. And in some cases you might have private numbers. Whether or not you import that depends on whether or not that star number is going to be, or whatever the organization is the correct designation for this particular column. So in this case I'm just not going to import that. And then you can save the field mapping if you want to use it again later. Continue, and it will give error messages for anything that doesn't work. So it's telling me it's going to import a total of 7 rows in the imported data. And then I will click to import. Again, this is just a small set. And yes, confirm import. And so if there are any, and I don't remember what this data set has, okay, it imported it all. If there were any errors, it would give me an error message with a little link to download those errors. And it's usually very clear what they are. It tells you right in the download information. It's typically either an empty field or a field that's not formatted. So you can go in and sort your spreadsheet to make sure that you remove any empty or unformatted fields. So now we've got people imported. We've got organizations also, which I've already done, but that would be over here under contacts. You can create new organizations, or you can import contacts as organizations and do it the same way. Once those organizations are in, now we need to create member types, and that is done over under Administer, CiviMember, and Member Types. So you'll need a member type for each of the different organizations or types of memberships that are available. So in this demonstration case, we've got some pretty sophisticated options, including multiple options for business, government, different sizes of business, numbers of employees. It gets pretty delineated. So there was a lot to create for this particular group. And then they've got memberships where you can join for a cost for the first one, and then we can have people add on for free to additional options. So these are the names of the groups. So these are the membership types. Let's not get that confused with groups. Sorry for using that term. That has a real meaning in Civi. So these are the member types. So when we go to import from the spreadsheet, we need to make sure that the field for member type matches one of these precisely. We don't want to have any spelling variations or anything that's going to throw off the database when we import. So once the database is set and the import is ready to go, then we've imported all the contacts, we've imported or created organizations, we've created the member types. Now edit the data to match so that the names of the different organizations and member types match what we're talking about, and then import members. So now I'm going to go back in and say memberships, import memberships. Again, choose file. And in this case, let's see which one I want to work with here. So here's a full membership list, and then I've got a working copy here. I'm going to go ahead with my working copy. And the first row does contain headers. Now I expect some errors to show up here because I don't think I cleaned this up, and I want to get an error message to show you how to deal with that. So again, choose your options, whether you want to insert or update membership. I'm going to choose update because I may have already imported these people once, and then choose my date format, and that is important for memberships because you're going to need a start date. So now I click continue to move to the next. Oops, and it looks like we've got some error in the code there. I'm going to need to take a look at. It's not reading that sheet properly. In fact, that might not be a CSV file. So I will clean that up, but what we're going to see when we click to that next page is, again, some matching fields, and those that are critical are member type, email address to make sure we're linking up with the right person, and start date. And you can import the entire group with all different member types for their primary association and do that import all at once. And then once that's completed, if we wanted to go back, and again, I have done this before, so we are not talking about something that hasn't been completed. So had I moved through the next steps, it would give you the exact results you're going to see now. So I could go into search and say find members. And for membership types, we can pick any. So for example, I know that we've imported some Kirk members, and this is Kirk for the Texas organization, not the National Kirk. So if I choose Kirk and any of these, if I leave blank, I think it will just choose them all. So I could do a search here. And it's now giving me 22 records of people who are members of Kirk. And it's showing their members since is being substituted here for start date since we didn't import that field. And then the end date is calculated as 1 year based on the settings that we do in CiviMember, member status rules, and member type. So when you set a member type, you decide that if it's whether or not it's a annual, fixed, or rolling. So this one, if somebody joins at a certain date, they renew a year later from that date. And then we can also set up in CiviMember the membership status rules that determine what grace periods are, new, active, grace, inactive, canceled, pending, and deceased. So these are the different statuses of a membership at any given time. New ones can be added. They're then defined. So, for example, you can set your grace period to be 30 days beyond the expiration date. So that's a basic summary of how you get them in there. And the hardest part is just making sure that the data is all set up correctly in the spreadsheet before the import. If you have any questions, bob@themobiusnetwork.com. Happy hacking.